Hello, everyone. This is Abby here, and I'm starting a whole new chapter or season of the podcast. And this is centered around intuition and developing your intuition as a woman. I want to specifically cater this to and for women. Of course, men can listen and go for it, but just want to preface it like I'm specifically doing this for women. So basically, it's for anyone on the journey of exploring it. You could be on the first days of getting little inklings of it, and you're like, what is this? And you found this podcast. I'm going to try to walk you through everything. You could also be a woman that's a little more far advanced, and maybe this is like a good review for you because there's no college for intuition. I think it'd be so cool if there was like an actual university for developing your intuition, and I hope that at some point that exists. But with the system we live in, which is very structured around logic and all of that fun stuff, it doesn't seem to exist. Unless you go to a creative art school, that's probably the closest thing you could find to it. Otherwise, there's a girl I follow. Her name is Anna Grace Newell, and she has a podcast called AG University. And so she kind of developed this concept of an intuitive school online. So there probably are other online intuitive like schools, but check out her podcast if you feel called. I listen to it quite a bit. Absolutely love it. Another great resource that I've been using lately is a podcast called Finding Connection with Rachel Navarro. She's a shamanic healer based out of Minnesota. I've worked with her in person a few times, and she's great, amazing. And I also really like Christina Lopes on YouTube. I'm really trying to learn from women and female intuitives. There's so many people out there, and of course great men as well. But as a woman, we are inherently different than men. Everyone has masculine and feminine energies within them. But the biggest difference is women have a womb, which means we are the portal in between worlds. We bring in life from the other side into the physical. And so there are things that women can do that men just can't, and vice versa. And so the ways, of course, too, that men are going to start working towards developing their intuition is going to be different than what women need to do. There are lots of overlaps, and we can learn from each other. It's a beautiful little harmonious thing, but it is inherently different. And so in this first episode, I'm going to basically outline what the early signs of your intuition are telling you to do. I'm going to try to kind of outline all the steps that you can take because I've been working on this for 5 years, which does not make me an expert. It just makes me someone that knows a lot because I'm obsessed with learning. And of course, if you're a little neurodivergent, autistic leaning, fun little lady, you know that when you have an interest in something, you dive so deep and become obsessed, and you're finding so many tools and resources out there to learn everything and anything you can, which is what I did. And so I do know a lot, more than I would say most of my friends. And so I want to share that with the world because it's something I'm so passionate about. Kitty's here. Oh my gosh, my kitty. Cats are a great way to start this off and say, if you want to learn about intuition, get a cat. It will show you in the most obvious, like physical way, externally outside of your body, how to be an intuitive creature. But okay, so besides that, I'll also try to outline in this basically like the different ways that you can explore your intuition, find your authenticity because it's very closely related, and also kind of touch on different things that you need to address in order for your intuition to come online. Because the questions I often get from people or friends is like, A, where do I start? How do I develop my intuition? B, how do I talk to the other side? Because I communicate with spirits and beings on the other side, which many would call a medium. And again, that's the women our gift. We are the portal bringing in life from the other side, which means we can also communicate with the other side. And some people, I would actually go as far as to say every woman does this. Many just dismiss it as coincidence, as they were imagining something, it wasn't real, or basically just, I guess those are the two biggest things that come to mind. They're just like dismissing it as that didn't happen, or that was just XYZ. And this is, I think, the biggest problem in our society is men run it, which that's a whole other deep dive topic in and of itself. You can be angry, but at some point you have to almost acknowledge that it's a gift. I've been trying lately to view everything in life as a gift from God, because all the problems and things that make you angry are just ways that you are able to evolve and learn in this earth realm that we are in. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow and to learn, and we would be bored if it was already perfect, right? That's why we're here. The other side, the spiritual realm, is of peace, love, light, and it can get boring because you don't really feel emotions. You can't feel, touch, sense, hear things. There's a lot more telepathic communication. You can't lie. There's no manipulating or misleading people. You just, it's, everything is more straightforward. So this earth realm slows things down, makes it much more complex, all of the fun things that we get so frustrated with, but it helps in our soul's evolution. And just view it as a gift from God. Not every soul gets to come here. It's often talked about in the spiritual community as a very difficult, high college level place for a soul to come and evolve. Earth is known as difficult. And so give yourself grace, because it's not easy here. We are all struggling, but that also means it's more important to connect to other human beings. You might be in a phase of isolation and loneliness, which is important in the spiritual evolution of finding yourself and your intuition. But once you come out of that, finding a community and building it is so important, because we need each other to survive. Loneliness, there's a reason that solitary confinement is torture. Humans are not meant to do it alone. And the reason you come into this body, your soul comes into this body, and you often will feel a loneliness or just a weird, I don't belong here, I don't feel like I fit in. It's because you're probably so used to that spiritual realm of everything feels connected. And that is what high vibrational energy does. It's very connected and loving and light. When you drop into the earth realm, it's dense and slow and low vibration, which means you feel much more separated from God's source energy. So you're going to feel all of the feelings. Okay, so I want to kind of dive more into, like, I wrote down a lot of notes. So I'm going to try to go off of those and then also just start rambling, of course, as I do. But I asked myself, what is the end goal? If you think about intuition, why do I want to start exploring it? Why would I, right? Because at the very beginning of my journey, I was feeling these nudges and inklings of becoming interested in it and wanting to learn more. And looking back, I'm such a curious person. I want to learn, of course. But I think my soul, and underneath it all, I just wanted freedom. I wanted to feel connected to something and at peace within my body and my life. And I knew whatever external things I was using to try to find that peace and love and connection, they weren't working. Like, I was living in New York City, someplace that it felt very connected. There's so many people, so many things, so much to do, so many opportunities. And I was like, I can find my purpose there. I can find myself. And then also surrounding myself with all sorts of friends and drinking a lot, doing a lot of drugs, overworking, not sleeping very well, exercising a lot. Like, there were all these things that I was using externally to try to find an internal peace and sense of self, and they weren't working. And so that's what you might call a spiritual awakening. When I was like, I feel lost in life, and I was at one of my darkest, lowest points in life. Not in my whole life, but at the time leading up to that point, that was like my darkest, lowest point. And I was suffering, I was struggling. I was like, God, what is going on? I can't do this here. And what kind of blew it all open and shattered it was I ended up meeting a man who I would like to call my shadow twin flame. I know twin flame is like there's a lot of controversy around that term because it became very popular a few years ago in the spiritual community, and I have a bit of resistance to it now, and I don't really love to use that word because it's just so layered. But I digress. It's essentially a person that comes into your life and is the strongest mirror, 1111, that you can possibly find in another human on this earth. And when I say mirror, it's almost as if you're looking at yourself in another human being, and you can't escape it. You can't escape all of your insecurities, vulnerabilities, your problems, your fears, your doubts, your traumas. All that icky stuff is brought to the surface, brought into the light. It's like taking a flashlight and shining it on all of that stuff, and it's like God saying, look at this. This is what you're running from, this is what you're avoiding, and now it's time to face it. Have fun. So that can be a bit hellish and chaotic, destructive, insane. It's what caused my spiritual awakening, and they say spiritual awakenings can be caused by either a person, a traumatic event, experience, losing a job, loved one, something big ending or destroying, like a death type of phase. And then, of course, after that is the rebirth and the growth and the fun, positive things that you get to see afterwards. But it's not fun in the moment. So if you're going through it, prayers up, so much sympathy. I know how difficult it is, and you're not alone. But so basically, at the end of the day, I was just so curious and so lost, and spirituality was the first time something actually resonated with me and felt like truth. Because I grew up in a Lutheran Christian religion, and it just never resonated with me. I was like, this doesn't fit. I was like, this doesn't feel like my truth. It's cool that everyone else does around me, but it's not working for me. So I went off and started exploring until I found something that did feel like my truth. And now, 5 years later, I'm actually coming back to Christianity and combining that with my spirituality practices and making it my own. That's for a whole nother podcast. But it just goes to show that in order to find your intuition, you have to also find your authenticity. I feel like they go so hand in hand, because when you're disconnected from your authentic self, you're disconnected from your body, your mind, your soul, God, and then that's what intuition is. So you can't be connected to it. Intuition to me is the most complex, intricate, intelligent communication system that human beings have access to, and that is also why I believe the government and people in control have tried to shut it down, use fear tactics in religion to suppress it within women, burned witches at the stake, all sorts of different ways that the men, especially, who don't have this power inherently, they've tried to control it and just kind of sweep it under the rug, or make women think it's a hindrance to them. It's not safe, not good. Don't do that. Stay away from intuition and nature and disconnect from yourself. Let's put you on medications and drugs. Let's feed you food with toxins, anything to basically completely mess with your body and make it unhealthy and disconnect you from the things that are inherently, I keep saying inherently, I need to stop, new word, that are so human to their core, like nature. Think of anything like when it goes back to prehistoric times, human beings out in nature listening to their body, eating real foods from the ground, not packaged ones, not processed ones. That's the healthiest, highest functioning human self. And we have so many amazing things that are produced nowadays that distract us from that simple truth. So, okay, I'm going to start with early signs your intuition is nudging you. This could be you start remembering your dreams at night, or you start remembering more. Back in the day, I remember there was one day a switch just flipped and I started remembering like 11 dreams at night. It would be insane. And I would write them all down in the morning, and each dream would be a page long. So it'd be like an 11-page Word document. And it was overwhelming and insane. And I eventually learned I have to say no. As much as I love this, I have to set a boundary and be like, I need to sleep at night. This is too much. So whenever abilities or gifts come online for you and start opening up and they intensify and intensify, remember it's a little toy and you're so excited. You just got this little cool toy that has so much power and you want to explore it in every way possible, but it can burn you out. And so you have to say no sometimes. You have to be like, okay, let's put the toy away just for a day or for at least a couple hours. I can do it. You'll become obsessed. I was obsessed, but you have to, for your own sanity. You have to be in the physical, earthly realm. And if you play too much with these toys, it can lead to psychosis, mental health issues. You also have to make sure you ground. Okay, I need to finish this list. I keep talking a lot. I'm just going to ramble through this list. So 1, remembering your dreams at night. 2, you start going to psychics or intuitives, or friends are asking you to come along. You're becoming more interested in them. 3, you become interested in spiritual teachings, finding people online. Things are popping up on your For You page. 4, things in life don't make sense to you anymore. And you feel like you have to make these changes and you don't know why and you don't know how. And it scares you. 5, old habits and patterns no longer fit, like drinking, overindulging in food or shopping, staying quiet and silent all the time, working a 9 to 5. 6, you're outgrowing a lot of people or the place that you've been living for a while. You feel like you need a big change. 7, you feel very lost or confused in life. 8, you feel suddenly called to make art or creative projects. I just want to side note this. Creativity is God coming through you. That is the closest thing we have to the spiritual realm, is creation. Anything, knitting, dancing, drawing, singing, painting, upcycling clothes, baking, cooking, whatever you can do with your hand, gardening. That's what women are good at doing. Go do that. What else do we have? 9, you feel called to make or do something bigger in life. 10, you feel magical moments of synchronicity popping up in your life. 11, you know something without being able to place any logic behind it. And it's just an inner knowing, or your heart feels like it's speaking to you and you're like, whoa, that feels so strong and intensely true to what I have to do, but I can't rationalize, like no logic makes sense behind it. And you feel a serene peace and trust in it too. That's like, oh, your intuition's coming on. 13, people or places can make you physically sick or shift in how you feel. 12, the energies in a room will shift as soon as you enter them. So like you'll feel fine, and then you walk into a room and you're like, whoa, I feel nauseous, or whoa, I feel like really sad. 14, you feel called to make drastic change in your life. I kind of already said that, but 15, you know things about people without knowing how or why. This could come through in dreams or waking life, whatever. 16, you begin astral traveling or talking to other beings while you're dreaming or in meditations. 17, everything about life feels like a video game or matrix. 18, you start to see that movies and books act as secret codes to break out of the matrix and find your true self. 19, spirits or beings start to enter your body. That's an intense one. If you have this experience, please email me right away, abbysteiger1@gmail.com. That's not to mess with. I had that happen. That's like extreme. You need help, sister. Okay, 20. You can see through people, their lies, their masks, their insecurities, their vulnerabilities. Sometimes you even see a different shifted version of them, and it kind of scares you or confuses you. That's next level stuff. I don't know what number I'm on, like 21. You can't possibly work a standard 9-to-5 job if you tried, or do anything normal in the matrix of society. There is a whole probably like 20 more things I could list there, but that's just what we got today. So I want to note, when I'm talking, when you're researching and learning about things, please always, always, always trust yourself first. As you get stronger in your intuition and move along on this journey, there are going to be times when the universe, God, whatever, is going to purposely bring to you things that are not true for you or good for you. And you could call it a test. It's honestly just helping you to learn discernment and learn your own intuition, because every single woman has a different energy system and a different way their intuition works. Everyone has different gifts, different ways of receiving information. Everyone is inherently different human beings, so it just all is going to work differently. And so when someone's telling you like, oh, this is a fact and this is how intuition works, or this is how you need to explore your intuition, this is how you do XYZ, please, if something ever doesn't feel right to you, don't do it. Or, like me, I'll usually feel it's not right, but I'll just go head straight forward and try it because I want to know why. Why did my intuition say that was wrong? I like to get the logical reasoning behind it. Now that I've done that many, many times over the years, I'm to a point where I'm like, oh, I don't need to go into that burning house and explore why my intuition told me not to go into it. I just know not to go into it. Yeah, like you'll get hurt and burned and a little mangled, but yeah, it's part of the process. You got to get a little messy sometimes. That's part of learning. You mess up. So give yourself grace. I'm not good at giving myself grace. I'm so hard on myself, but please do it. Please. Because I've messed up so many times, bro. It's ridiculous. Gotten myself into some messes. Okay. On the other note, the other thing. This is, again, a personal little preference and me speaking from my experience, but I prefer to learn from women. I mentioned this earlier at the beginning, but I'm going to say it again because I just want to shout it from the rooftops. Women need to learn intuition from other women. There's things you can learn from men, but please prioritize female influences, especially because there is a pattern and tendency going on within the world that I've experienced, and it's men that like to be a spiritual lady. A spiritual lady. Yeah, they like to pretend like they're a spiritual lady. No, but they like to pretend they're a spiritual leader, where they are a spiritual leader. They surround themselves with all intuitive women. And they use this as a bit of a power tactic to, I guess, like emotionally extract from the ladies. And this is a situation I got caught up in. It was fine because I set my boundaries, but what ended up happening is this man ended up having sexual intercourse and relationships with every other single woman besides me. And it's this whole thing where there aren't a lot of men that are tuned in with themselves and their emotions. And so when we as women find a man that is like that, it can feel like finding gold. And it's so refreshing. And it can be very, very healing to be in a relationship with that kind of man. I was in one relationship with a guy that was kind of same vibe, but like it was very helpful and healing for me because it showed me that there are men out there like that. And it gave me a very safe container to express my completely authentic, emotional, intuitive self because they were on the same page. You just have to be careful of like, are they in it for the right reasons? You know, just pay attention. So that's why I prefer women. There are probably some great men out there, but just, you know, little side note. So if I were to lay out my journey in 10 steps to follow, I had this thought and I was like, okay, how do we do this? 10 steps. And I figured out it's kind of impossible to just give you a logical, structured order because intuition is inherently non-linear. I like to think of intuition as a spiral and then a little messy, chaotic unraveling and all over the place. It's just like a little kid playing. It's not going to make a lot of sense, and no one is going to do it the same way. So me making a 10 steps to follow list, I was like, I could do it, but in the end, it probably would just change for every single person. I guarantee you, every person would probably start with the first, maybe go into the second, and then they'd probably jump to the fifth, then the eighth, then the fourth, and that you would just start like intuitively following your own order. So I can give you a list, but honestly, please don't follow it. Like, just pick random ones that you feel called and jump around and use it as a little guide, if you will. But I think the first step for every single person is the same. It needs to be the same because, let me preface this. Well, I'll tell you the first step. It's grounding and safety. The reason for that is because when you think of masculine and feminine energies, you need masculine structure and a safe container to hold the feminine energy, which is intuitive and playful and free. If you don't have that structure, the feminine is not going to work. I was going to say broken, but I don't love that word. It's going to be destructive. And so you can think of it as like when a woman gets pregnant. She needs the masculine man to take care of her along her journey, to provide a safe and loving environment and home, to nurture herself and her body and this baby within her. And so basically, it's like whatever you feel drawn to, explore that. But the first thing, please ground and create safety and structure for yourself. After that, do whatever you want. Because your intuition is going to lead you to what you need to do next and what you feel drawn to explore, which is awesome. But like, I will say too, if you don't find the grounding and structure and safety, there's a decent chance you're going to end up in a psych ward or in a very abusive relationship or going into a lot of debt. It's just, there's gonna be problems you're gonna face. You're gonna make it a little harder for yourself. That's what I did. Learn from experience. Because I remember my mentor, I went to 2 psychic medium mentors because I did want 2 different people to teach me. I didn't want to learn from just one person because there's nothing online that verifies, yes, this person is correct about intuition. You should, yes. No, it's just, it's a whole thing, especially when you grow up in a family that doesn't know much about it. So I was very intentional about going to 2 people, and both of them had me doing a lot of grounding, protection, safety exercises at first. I did it when I was with them, but at home, my everyday life, I was kind of like, what's the purpose? I didn't feel a real reason to do that. And it felt like so much work. Because I was like, I just want to do the fun stuff, the cool things, like dreams. I want to learn about my dreams, and I want to like know things about people and go astral project and all that stuff. But I guess I don't know what to say besides like, I needed to ground myself. I was so ungrounded and untethered that I was just probably like a little fire hydrant hose blasting off into space. So you can think of it like a tree too. If a tree is uprooted, it dies. If you are not grounded and rooted, you're not gonna die, but like you're gonna face some death-like consequences or metaphorical symptoms, I guess. So the way to ground, lots of methods. You can look them up, but obvious one, bare feet to the ground, spending outside in nature. I don't even know what else works that well besides that. Quiet, peaceful time outside alone in nature. Best way to ground. You can do things like connecting to your heart center or your sacral center and imagining roots going down into the earth, connecting to the core of Mother Gaia and tethering that whole system. And then I like to, after that, because you always have to do that first, after that, to connect to that same center and go up and connect to God's source energy. Almost every good spiritual teacher that I had would always tell me connect first to the ground energetically and then up to source. It's just so important because of the vibrational state that we are living in, this earth realm. And so if you're trying to embark on this journey and you live in cold northern state in the dead of winter, maybe put a pause on this until it warms up, or go take a little fun road trip for a month to a warmer state and start there. Because, well, you can try it if you want. You'll learn quick, just as I did, that you need to ground. So, there's that. What else do I got for you? Yeah, I think I've covered a good amount. Okay, so yes, the biggest piece of advice, like I said just a few minutes ago, is your intuition will literally pull you towards what it wants to learn next. Because at the core, your body is talking to you, and that is intuition. Whatever it literally is drawn to, that is intuition. It's your entire body system communicating with you, instead of relying on just logic and the brain. And this is going to be a battle for many people, is intuition versus logic. Remember, they're both important, and you can try to have them talk to each other. But if you've been living in logic your whole life, just tell logic to take a seat in the back of the bus. We're focusing on intuition now, because that's what I like to do. I just focus on one thing. So I focused on intuition for so many years that now I'm integrating them. But it took a while, and it took a lot of resistance and people telling me like, Abby, you maybe should be more logical. And I was like, F you. I'm stubborn. I need to learn it myself. But so a good way to start learning about intuition is watching animals, because they are very intuitive. Anything animalistic that relies on instinct and what your body naturally wants to do, how it wants to move, what it senses, how it shakes off energy, where it wants to go in life. All that is great. So intuition is also God speaking through you. And you can think of God as everything in the universe. So when you start exploring your intuition, you are opening yourself up to communicating with everything in the universe, which sounds overwhelming. And it kind of is. It can be, especially if you're not grounded, like I said. But that means it's powerful. And it's not to be taken lightly. And that also means that if you start opening up to this, your life's going to change a lot. And it probably won't stop changing for a while. So get ready. I remember my mentor, the first day I sat down with her, she goes, Abby, just a little tidbit of a warning here. Once you open this door, you can't close it. I was like, what? It's the scariest thing anyone has ever said to me. And I think I paused and thought about it for 10 seconds. And I said, okay, let's go. I knew I couldn't go back. It's been one hell of a journey, the most difficult journey I've been on, but I am so glad. I'm starting to come out on the other side of all the stuff I've worked through, and it's a breath of fresh air. It makes life so much better and easier. So I encourage you to do it, but just remember that. So then I actually want to go back to the grounding one more time because I did write a couple metaphors for why this is important to give you a bit more of an explanation, because I know sometimes people say things, but when you give me a visual metaphor, I really understand it. That's how I learn. So if someone's like that out there, here you go. For grounding, let's say, metaphorically, you have 5 jobs. Every day you work a different job, and every week it's never the same which days you work which job. So you have to switch each week, trying to remember and coordinate all of the different jobs, figuring out if you work one job Monday, 2 jobs Tuesday, Wednesday, a different job Thursday, another Saturday, it confuses the heck out of you. And on top of that, you work different hours and at different pay rates. Life is chaotic and you have no stability, no structure, no grounding routine. Imagine living this life. Does it stress you out? You're gonna forget which job is which at some point. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna get probably really drained and tired. And creating any kind of sensible budget or way to know how much money's coming in, especially if each job is different amounts of money, that's gonna literally put someone in a psych ward. So that's why you need grounding and routine and structure. It creates that masculine, safe container. Now for boundaries and safety, because I touched more on the grounding part, but not as much the boundaries and safety, which is equally as important. Creating boundaries around your body. I'm like moving my arms around because I literally will use my arms to cleanse and clear energy. Like you can feel, if you just move your hands around your body, it feels like stuff is moving. It feels good. People use smoke, crystals, water. All those things can cleanse and clear out energy around your body. So the metaphor I have is, let's say you move into a new home and want to set up a comfy bed, a beautiful kitchen to cook meals, and a safe living room to watch TV and make art. You need, theoretically, a sound, safe, secure housing structure. But this home that you've moved into actually has no roof, no walls, no floor. It's just dirt on the ground and the sun blazing in on you. You're going to face some serious challenges. Snakes, bugs, and critters can slide in. Rain could pour down and ruin your furniture or your hair and clothes and outfit that you just put together. People could literally see into your house and walk in if they wanted to. So you no longer feel safe, secure, and at peace in your home to live comfortably. This is why you need structure and boundaries. So, how do you cleanse, clear, and protect? so many ways of doing this. A few of them that I've learned over time is you can call in angels of light, like Archangel Michael, Gabriel, just look them up. Archangel Michael is very popular for energetic protection. You can call in Jesus Christ, Buddha. I'll sometimes use goddesses and gods, like, or Athena, or the Atlantean energy, Lemurians, Zeus, Thor. There's probably so many out there that you could call in. Whenever you call someone in, though, please ask them to come in love and light. Please, because you can start calling stuff in and it can not have your best intention at heart, and it can totally mess up your life. Again, not to scare you, but just to be real. Like, things on the other side are powerful. We have the say to tell them yes or no and establish those boundaries, and they have to listen to us. But if you're not clear in your intentions, things can get out of control quick. And the other thing that can happen is they can put chips, implants, programmings within your system that you can be completely oblivious to. And so making sure it's always of your highest, greatest good, that you're grounded into the earth and rooted up to source God energy, and then calling in these beings of love and light of my highest and greatest good. That secures everything about it, right? So you can call them in and just have them show you what it feels like to completely cleanse and clear your body. You can ask for water to wash over you. You can ask for different lights. So some people use Saint Germain violet flame. Some people use a white light, colored light. I don't know if anyone that uses a black light, but you could try it out, see how it feels, I guess. I did a lot of experimenting, and some people say don't use white light because it can attract darkness, like moth attracted to the, what do they call it, the flame or the light? Yeah. But the key here is, like, if you're in your own safe space, use whatever you want. It's like when you go out in public, that's when you probably want to put another layer of protection. So people can use like a bubble shield, or people envision a disco ball surrounding their body and all those little mirrors reflecting everything. You could envision a cloak or a cape that you wear. I'm trying to remember what else I've used, but those are some common ones. Some people too will kind of imagine a sack and like zipping it up. And then, just anything you think of. Your intuition will probably tell you what it wants to try that day. And a lot of prayer. Like, I notice holding my hands like this or like this just strengthens everything. So asking God, source, Jesus, whoever, for things, and really praying about it. Always say thank you and send gratitude for everyone that helps you. That's very important. My mentor once told me gratitude is like a daily medicine. It is so important. And so, yeah, I also use a lot of smoke, like burning incense, sage, Palo Santo. That can be great for all around your body. You can use salt. Just fill bowls with salt and put them around your home. That can collect dense energy, and you release it with the moon. Baths are great. Swimming in water, super cleansing for me. Sometimes just shaking, moving your body like this feels good. That's why dancing and yoga is great. That's all that's coming to mind right now. So this is getting long, but that's okay. We're gonna try to wrap up kind of soon. I wanted to mention too that a lot of people online, at least I experience this and I've heard other people say it, people online will say, oh, just raise your vibration if you want to talk to spirits and beings on the other side or communicate with your higher self, tap into intuition. And that's a bit misleading, because if you're watching this, I guarantee you already have a high vibration. And the way vibration works, if you don't know, is we are living in Earth, which I mentioned is a darker, denser realm. That means it's of a lower vibration. If something moves slower and has a lower vibration, what you probably learned in science class is it's a solid. When things have a high vibration, they become gas and you can't see them as much. So that's what they mean when they talk about high vibration, is you can start to actually look more like a light being. And anything on the other side that you're communicating with is going to have an ethereal light body because it's at a very high vibrational state. And that's why most people can't see them in our physical reality. There are some people that can, and that's because they are accessing and probably operating at a very high vibrational state, so they can both see human beings and these other earthly realm beings and creatures. That can be scary. I see them like shadows or glimpses of beings and people. I usually just know they're there and sense them, but like every once in a while I'll see them. I'm very glad I don't physically see them all the time because that would be hard to live. I know somebody that does, and her life is difficult. Like imagine showering and they're just like all these people in the room, or spirits, whatever. So be careful what you wish for. We'll note that. But so let me explain how your high vibration works. Because something else to note is you can think of it like a radio station. So if you're trying to talk to certain beings, you have to turn into a certain frequency and radio station to talk to them. And that means you usually have to raise yours up and they have to bring theirs down. You're meeting each other in the middle. And it takes two to tango, right? So like if you're not able to access that, they're probably going to be sitting there and they're like, waiting, come on, I want to talk to you. And you can't, which is fine. Don't be hard on yourself. You're just not there yet. It's not easy. It's not logical. So different ways you can start to, quote, raise your frequency is actually by finding your authentic self, or at least this is the easiest way that I've found to raise your vibration. And the reason is because your authentic self is the highest vibration that a human being can achieve on earth, because that is operating under unconditional love. And unconditional love is representative of the spirit realm. When I think of God, I think of unconditional love and light. And so if you want to get close to that, you're going to be accessing your authentic self, which is what God intended for you to act and be like when he, or you can say she, I say he made you. And a lot of people come to earth and they get caught up in trends and fitting in the world around them, and they mold to that and they lose their authenticity. So that's a whole journey in itself. But I will say as well, it's not about being always a good, nice, sweet, angelic human being. It's about being real, because your authentic self is also inherently human. And human beings are not perfect. That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to be perfect. And that's what I pressured myself into doing for most of my life. And that is just suffering. That's torturing yourself. So please stop, because that's another thing the church does, is it like creates this picture of black and white thinking and you have to be good in order to go to heaven. Not the case. God loves everything and everyone has access to this heavenly realm when they cross over and pass on. So let's go through a list. Oh, another note. Your authentic self has a lot of darkness and a lot of trauma and a lot of shit to work through. So a part of you finding your authenticity is going to be going and diving deep into your darkness, exploring that. Because they say the lower and darker you can go is also the higher in light you can go. You're stretching your capacity as a human being. I'm not coming up with a word right now. But it's just exploring the different facets and polarities of yourself. And I will make a separate podcast on exploring your darkness. But when you do it, you have to make a safe light container, because you're going into a cave with a flashlight and it's scary and you can get stuck there. That's why it's important to have people that know you well and recognize when you've gone too far for too long and they pull you out, which is what happened to me. God's always got you. No matter what, I've made so many mistakes, you guys, and I'm going to tell you things that, like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, because I messed up on. At the end of the day, I'm here. God saved me so many times through people, places, and things. And I truly believe if you have the confidence and trust in God, you'll always be okay. No matter how far off the path you wander, no matter what mistakes you make, people you encounter, things you do wrong, you can always find your way back. And so that's a beautiful little reminder. So don't give in to the fear. Fear is a teacher. I want to side note this because I said this the other week to someone. I was explaining why I like to explore darkness and scary things within myself. And I noted that anything that lies beyond fear is helping you to become more free. Fear makes you stuck. Fear limits you. There is a healthy fear in life because your brain, body, something is trying to keep you safe. But more often than not, there's something very expansive and beautiful beyond that fear. And if you go into fear and it destroys you and kills you, well, you might not have been discerning correctly. And you might have dove in way too aggressively without safety parameters. Like, for example, cliff jumping. You probably want to make sure like the water is deep enough so you don't die, right? Or if you do, what is that, bungee jumping with the cord? Like, you want to make sure the cord is securely fastened and has been tested so you don't detach from the cord and hit whatever's below and die. But there's so many fear tactics that government and religion uses to prevent us from accessing all parts of ourselves and our power. And so I want you to just remember that. If you ever fear doing something because you think the devil's going to take you, think of the devil as darkness that you can conquer. Devil is not a thing or a person. If there's a person in your life and you label them as demonic and devilish, they're merely showing you something within yourself that you deem as demonic and dark. And they're showing you what you need to explore and shine a light on to see it's actually something that is very unloved. Because what I've found is anything that becomes demon-like is an energy that did not grow in love and safety. And therefore it's lashing out and creating chaos and darkness to basically get attention and cry out for help that it needs love. Again, a whole other podcast. So I'm going to make two lists right now. One is ways that I've explored my intuition. The other is ways I've found my authentic self. So you can start doing this if you've already mastered the grounding protection things. And then I don't know if I came up with a list yet of like steps to follow, but you could think of this as your list of steps to follow. And it's not ordered. I didn't number it. Do it in whatever order you would like, whatever you feel called and interested in. There's going to be a lot of things not on these lists. Go for it. Just go for it. I don't even care. All right, here are some ways I've explored my intuition. Dream journaling. Side note, Isling Dream Dictionary online, great free online resource and tool for interpreting metaphors and symbolisms within dreams. Listening to my body, sleeping more, taking care of my body. Because remember, intuition is connected to your body. So the more you can take care of your body and listen to it, stronger your intuition, the more clear all of the information comes through. You can do intuitive tests in grocery stores. So I'll walk into a grocery store without a list, without knowing anything, and just see. I let my body walk. I try not to think. I just walk. And whatever food I'm standing in front of and looking at, I'm like, okay, my body wants that. Put it in the cart. Intuitive way to pick out items on a food menu. This is kind of fun. So I'll do this thing where when I go into a restaurant or a cafe, the first food item that I lock eyes with is what I order. Because people don't realize your eyes are one part of your intuition. So what you see in your environment, when you just close your eyes and open them and look, the first thing you see, that's something that your eye is picking up on information that's important because it's looking at it first because it's energetically in tune with that. It's hard to explain in words, but like that's an intuitive nugget. If you close your eyes and you just listen with your ears, you can hear different noise. It's hard because I'm alone in a silent room. But if you're out in public and you hear some people talking, sometimes there can be a lot of like background noise. And then suddenly you hear someone say something and they're like, oh, I went to Japan and it was amazing. And then you don't hear anything else that they say for some reason. You just heard that and you're like, why was I able to hear that but not anything else? That was important. You should go to Japan. Or if somebody invites you to Japan, it's God telling you, go. So then the other thing I'll do on the food menu instead of my eyes is I will close my eyes and use my finger and then just land on something. Whatever my finger lands on, that's what I get. The amount of times that you guys, this test has worked so well because I struggle with decision making. And of course, if it's a new restaurant, you don't know what's good. The amount of times I've picked randomly and I had the best food in the world, and then somebody sitting next to me was like staring at the menu for 5 minutes, finally picked something and they hated it. Can't even tell you how many times that's happened. So then another thing, continuing this list, noticing how you feel around certain people. Noticing how you feel after eating certain foods. So you can separate all the foods on your plate, eat one food. Is your nose running? Is your stomach hurting? Is your mouth dry? Pay attention. What do they mean? Then you have to, fun part, interpreting what they mean. Good luck. That's a journey in itself. Some more things, yoga and breath work. Drawing, creating, singing, dancing. Using tarot or oracle cards, which are tools to practice getting intuitive messages. Whoa. If I burp, that means energy is passing, and it probably means it's like a very important message. I will say it's been demonized, and that's because people fear it. It's a powerful tool. You can use it for darkness, just as anything else in the world. And so when people use it for darkness, that creates a stigma and a fear. So if you use it of light and love, you're fine. Body testing or pendulum testing. Look this up. I don't really feel like explaining it right now, but to briefly explain, you can swing a pendulum and basically teach it and orient it with your body for a yes versus no. So you'll be like, pendulum, show me a yes, and it'll sway a certain way. And then you say, okay, stop. Pendulum, show me a no. It'll sway a different way. And so then you can ask it different questions like, is this food good for my body right now? Should I go to the Arboretum with my friend later this week, And then that can help basically teach you how to listen to your body. Another thing is, you practice giving people readings, intuitive readings, just anything in their life. whatever comes up. You can do it with friends. You can focus on different senses for a week at a time. So like for 1 week, you just focus on your ears. And every meditation you do is about your ears. And you just listen to what you hear all the time. You focus on it. Then the next week you focus on your eyes, you know. Because your senses are very attached to your intuition and a great, great tool for receiving information. You can do a little exercise called pack your bag intuitively. So you don't plan anything for the day. You have a day off. And you take a big bag and you just put things in that you feel like you might need. Maybe it's a swimsuit and a towel and a marker and a book. And then, oh, why do I need these scissors? That's weird, but okay, let's put the scissors in. Why do I need a lighter? Okay, sure. And then you get into your car and you let your car take you to where it wants to take you. Don't crash. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, you intuitively just, like, when you get to a place where you could turn right or left, you just are like, where does my car, where's my hands turning? Oh, they're turning left. Okay, we're going left. Oh, now we're going right. Oh, now we're at a park. Okay, cool. Wow, I've never been to this park. This is fun. We're going to sit down. Oh, I forgot a blanket. Shoot, I wish I had a blanket. And then you send a little message to your past self and you say, hey, Abby, you should bring a blanket. And when you start sending messages to your past self, intuition gets stronger. Because once you start doing that, you'll always know what you need. So next time you pack a bag, you will know exactly what you need. When you make mistakes, you just send a message to past self, say, hey girl. And she gets it in another timeline and then it will sync up with yours. So then another thing, notice how you feel after entering a room. Notice how you feel after listening to, or while listening to a piece of music. Big thing is just slowing down in general, paying attention, observing, pattern recognition, learning about science and energy. It's very connected to intuition. Then I walk with bare feet on the ground, big one. Talking to trees, plants, or animals. I like to put my hands on trees and get their energy vibe, see if messages come through. You can watch animals. You can learn about animal instincts, watch documentaries on animals and how they interact with each other. You can even watch documentaries about naturally intuitive women. Jane Goodall. There's one. You can process emotions and start getting familiar with your emotions because the emotional body is so connected to intuition. Every emotion is telling you something. So deeply intertwined. That is why women are more emotional creatures. So please learn about your emotions. There's emotional wheel charts even online if you don't know a whole lot. That can be super helpful. So we got done with that list for now. Now I'm going to go through a list of how to find your authentic self. Experimenting with clothes, that's been a big one for me. Or jewelry, the amount of jewelry I wear, the amount of makeup I wear. It's good to test out not doing something for a while and seeing how you feel. So I went, I think it was a month without wearing makeup. And once you get past the whole, oh my God, what are people thinking of me? You actually start to realize, do I like this or do I not? And then you can start wearing makeup again and be like, do I like wearing makeup? I don't know. Now, I rarely wear makeup unless I feel called. Or actually, I should back up. I like to just wear certain kinds of makeup. I like lip color, a little mascara, and my eyebrows. Sometimes blush, but I rarely wear face makeup because my skin feels so irritated when I wear it. It burns. Even if, like, I've tried so many different brands. My skin doesn't like it, so here we are. Another great way is traveling alone, getting comfy with yourself, and seeing what you want to do without anyone else to influence you. Because if you're intuitive, you're probably naturally very empathetic, and you probably basically contorted your whole life to please others and make them comfortable and do what they want to do. Now it's time to figure out what you want to do. You might not even know a single thing, and that's awesome. You get to explore, get to know yourself. It's fun. Then another thing related to that is just going out to eat at a variety of different restaurants alone, doing different activities alone, going to festivals and concerts alone, seeing what kind of people you naturally gravitate towards and meet and talk to. Another thing is just trying new things. Like, oh, I've never gone to the zoo before. Maybe I want to go to the zoo. Maybe I want to try ice skating lessons or dance lessons or a new art class or kung fu. Whatever like little idea pops into your head, just go try it. You might love it. It might become your new passion. Another thing is cutting out alcohol and drugs, because these numb you out and they can distort your reality or create a lot of anxiety and numb intuition, which then numbs the authentic self. So if you can cut these out, even for like a couple months or a year, and just tell yourself, I'm just doing it for a year and then I'm going back. Like, you don't have to be sober forever. Just try it. And then pay attention to what you love in other people. What you love in them is probably what you love in yourself. And that goes in hand with like what you're drawn to. So on the other hand, pay attention to what annoys you or you just don't like. When you're out in public, watching people, watching movies, anything, just pay attention, right? Slow down, pay attention. Another way is making a lot of art and creation. When you make things, again, that's God speaking through you. That's usually your subconscious telling you something. There might be things coming out of you that you didn't expect. That's happened a lot to me. I've made a lot of very dark, scary art. And I was like, whoa. Then I loved it. And I was like, why do I love this? Then you explore that whole thing. You can talk to older people or younger people, because old and young people are on the cusp of life. So they're kind of more connected to the spirit realm in a way. And so any advice they have, things they do, you'll notice they both don't care. They don't really give a fuck. Like, they just do what they want to do. And that's badass. That's awesome. That's good energy to carry and pick up on. Kind of hand in hand with that is talking to your own inner child or your own inner wise adult self and seeing if they have things they want to share, advice, stories, information, whatever, to give to you. Also think back a lot to your childhood. Like, what were you drawn to? What did you love? What were you like? What costumes did you dress up as for Halloween? What characters did you love in books and movies? Your childlike self is the most authentic you, most likely, unless you came from a very traumatic, abusive home where you did not feel safe to do childlike things. But in other cases, it's going to be very telling. If you were very into like fairies or mermaids, you might have just come from a fairy or mermaid realm and you love those things and you want to continue exploring that in this lifetime. Go do it. You could make an intuitive mood board. So you just intuitively maybe go on Pinterest or look through magazines and find images and then put them into a collective mood board. And before you do it, you set the intention. You say, I want a mood board that shows me my authentic self. And then you can step back and look at this and go, oh my gosh, you can cry and be like, I just didn't realize like that's who I am, but it feels so me and that's so beautiful and I'm going to try to be more like her. And so that's just, a few ways that you can explore the many facets of yourself. And remember, there likely will be 3 to 10 versions of you within you. Like, I have a very modern, techie, New York business self. I have a little childlike, colorful explosion self. The mermaid, siren, mystical self. Like a I don't know what else, but it's a lot of different things. And just remember, they can be separate, or you can try to integrate them, whatever you want, but it's kind of more fun to separate them in a way and get to know them fully and just understand that you are uniquely yourself, and those different aspects of you want to come out in different ways at different times. And it's okay if they're not all completely integrated as one yet. They might be at some point in your life, but it's a lot of work to do that. So my last thing I'll say too is ask everyone in your life that's close to you to write a short blurb or list about how they see you. That will be very interesting, I'm sure. There might be things you expect, but there might be surprises. Or you might go, oh my gosh, yes, that is so true, but why didn't I see that? That's so cool that somebody else sees it in me. I love that. So now that we've gotten through all that, I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. That's my body telling me it's time to wrap things up and go to bed. I've exerted a lot of energy here. And this is like the first episode, so of course I'm going to start trying to dive deep into more things that I've done throughout the years to explore this whole realm of amazingness. And one of the biggest things that I'll probably talk about is healing the nervous system and trauma healing, because a lot of human beings have a lot of intense trauma that they're carrying. And so it doesn't mean that it happened to you in this lifetime. It can be passed down generationally in the genes that you have in your body, in your cells. And so it can feel as if you've lived with this trauma in this lifetime. Like you can act out certain patterns and beliefs and things. And it can really, really hinder your connection with yourself and your intuition. Because when you have an intense trauma in the body, that's a part of your body you don't want to feel into. A lot of people have it in their base, their pelvic area, the stomach region, which is why a lot of people have digestion issues, sexual trauma, sexual fear, and confusion. So addressing the trauma and working through that is super important. It's intense and difficult, but it's gotta be done if you want to keep moving. Otherwise, you're just gonna keep acting out all those different loop patterns that accommodate the trauma. All right, one final message that spirits, so people say spirit guides. There's a shamanic lady, Rachel, who has the podcast I mentioned, Finding Connection with Rachel Navarro. She calls them helping spirits, which I honestly love. So I say helping spirits now. But like my helping spirits want everyone to know to drink more water, good quality water. It's good for you. And a lot of people are dehydrated, and it's good to take care of yourself. So good first step, water. It also like washes things out, like cleanses, clears your body from the inside out, right? Do that. And sleep. Get sleep. Okay, ciao, bye. Hope that was helpful.